This is Lexon 5 of the VideoGameNews.com collection. And this is the Amiga CD32, which they bill as the world's first 32-bit CD games console. A lot of people thought that they said that this was the world's first 32-bit game console, which was not true. That was actually the FM Towns Marty, and I believe the FM Towns Marty also took CD, however. Not really sure. The thing wasn't exactly a 32-bit console anyway, but it was back in the days when they would pitch things like this as being 32-bit. Let's see if I can open this up. This unit's still pretty clean overall. Hasn't seen a lot of use. It was essentially an Amiga computer. This was the terrible controller that went with it. Had your directional pad and your 4 buttons and some trigger buttons. This actually worked really well, even though it looks really cheap. It was really solidly constructed, and you know, the micro triggers and everything worked on it really well. But you know, it got really panned for being a terrible controller for the time. The unit itself, pretty large, but simple. It had a volume slider here for the headphone jack, reset button. The top would just pop up, put the disc in, play it, and it had an expansion bay on the back for an MPEG movie module, and there's your power button, and you could also attach other things to it to actually turn this into a complete Amiga computer system. 2 game controllers, auxiliary port for super I don't know, super video or something. Commodore was going to release this in the United States officially, and they were unable to do so due to a patent lawsuit. They had built about 100,000 of these in their factory in the Philippines, and then because the lawsuit made it so they were unable to, I have a second controller in here, were unable to sell in the United States. There's a big power brick. They went out of business. And that was the end of Commodore. Same people who made Commodore 64 and all that. So, yep. But a little piece of history there, as this was one of the very first systems billed as being 32-bit. This came out before PlayStation and Sega Saturn. It was between the Sega Genesis time period, Sega CD, even before the 32X, and there was a number of systems that tried to get on, jump aboard the gaming market back then before you know, Sony and Sega and Nintendo launched their successor systems. Price tag up here, which you can't really see, was $400. So that's how much this sucker cost. And I have some extra stuff that kind of goes with it that's inside this Lexon. When I bought it, this guy gave me all of the CD32 Gamer CDs that had all of these demos of all these games that were on there, because there was actually a magazine for CD32. The CD32 was actually very successful in the UK during its limited run. Each one of these came with tons of games on them for the system. They were made by major publishers at the time, because the UK market had its own development, and a lot of these games were in development for Commodore, because Commodore was still very big over there before the system actually went under. So yeah, they had a lot of games that were out for this. Something like 120 games were actually released for the system officially, and so it's interesting. Electronic Arts, Psygnosis, Bitmap Brothers, all kinds of people made games for it, Bullfrog, etc. It's one of these unknown systems. Then we have the rather small and tiny GameCube, another little toilet top. It's your power button, your reset button, your 4 game controllers, 2 game cartridges. Had a little handle on the back. I'm sure most people who were watching this probably have had one of these or seen one. You had your little media port, and on the bottom you had some communication port, which, yeah, that's right, I've got one. It's the LAN cable port on the back. It was only good for, I think, 1 or 2 games, period. Phantasy Star Online, and I think maybe one of the Pokemon games. That's all it was for. And then there was this expansion that would have been used for the 64DD drive, which was never actually released in the United States, It's only available in Japan. So, yep, powered by ATI right there. It's a GameCube. Have a My Street lunchbox from Sony Online. Some game they were trying to pitch at the time. It's a real lunchbox. Oh, what's this? Oh, it's a Dragon Herald from like D&D stuff. This is what I used to be in, like, used to dress up like as knights and stuff. Whew, that's old school. Look, it even has by hand Tempest. See, I've been using this forever. This is way back when I lived in Broadview Heights, probably around when I was in high school. So, pretty crazy. Take that out of there. This actually is for the memory track that we saw in one of the earlier cases. They need to be joined together, so I'm going to go find that and put that into this box right here and get them back together. But there's actually a picture where you can see the memory track that sits on top of the CD unit, which sat on top of the Jaguar, and the game controller, etc. So that's just the box. Gotta get that back in the box. And here's some Jaguar games. This was VidGrid. This actually came with the CD unit. No pictures of it though. Van Halen, Metallica, Soundgarden, Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, Jimi Hendrix, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Peter Gabriel. Don't know why Peter Gabriel's in there. Doesn't seem to fit in with all the rest of those bands, but whatever. He was. And we have Blue Lightning, terrible game, which also came with Jaguar CD. And there are some pictures there, but it's not going to do you any good. It's not a very good game. So we'll take those out of there. Reassemble a lunchbox. And on the side. And what else we have here? This is an Atari Flashback system. This was the first one that came out. Flashback 1. It played 20 original Atari games. Came with these little joysticks inside. Open it up. Show you kind of what it looks like. This manual's in the way though. Take that out of there for a moment. You can see the unit itself is very small. And then they had these weird non-Atari joysticks, power adapter, etc. And people kind of panned this because they couldn't play original Atari games like cartridges, and the joysticks weren't original. So even though they did work as both paddles and joysticks, they, it was only 20 bucks when I bought it. It was originally $30, and it went to 20. But it played Asteroid, Centipede, Yars' Revenge, Breakout. There was a big list on the back of all the games that played: Adventure, Air Sea Battle, Battlezone, Breakout, Canyon Bomber, Crystal Castles, Gravatar, Haunted House, Millipede, Saboteur, Skydiver, Solaris, Sprint Master, Warlords, Yars' Revenge, Asteroids, Centipede, Desert Falcon, Food Fight, and Planet Smashers. So, yeah, that was the first one. Standalone system. I'm going to run out of time here on this one. Have a Microcon GameCube joystick, little tiny joystick there. I'm not going to unravel it and everything, but you get the idea. Sega Master System. This is the original Master System. Power button here. Actually, the Sega Master System took two kinds of games. It took large cartridges up top, and it also took plastic like Hue cards, like the TurboGrafx took. And you could actually stick the a 3D viewer in here, so for the 3D shutter glasses that would work with the light gun. The light gun would plug in here, 3D glasses there, and then the game itself would plug in here, and you could play a 3D game on Sega Master Power Base. Somewhere around here I have controllers too, and then there was some sort of expansion thing here, but it was like, the plastic thing on there. I don't think anything ever came of that. And yeah, this competed against the Nintendo Entertainment System when it was launched. It was not very popular. Not that many people actually bought Sega Master System. Most people bought NES, but people who were looking for a little bit of a change picked this one up. Alright, I'm not done with this one yet, so we're going to have to take this over to video 2. So check out the rest, and then we'll wrap that up. Thanks.